Oof. Days are getting warmer, but I'm only getting older, innit? Oh, man. Who doesn't like an English breakfast tea, eh? Or Yorkshire tea? Oof. Alright, let's crack on. Well, issue six marks a little landmark for me, I can't lie. It's this was the number that I wanted to get to for me to know and be like, yeah, this is real. You know what I mean? Like this is actually happening. I've been consistent with it, although it's taken me a while to get to issue six. I must admit. Um, as you can tell by the hair growth, innit? I'm growing my hair out, so yeah. When I first started, it was nice and short. Now it's getting to that stage. You know what I mean? It's getting to that stage. Um, but what can I say? Yeah, I'm excited. You know what? I'm specifically excited for this issue because this is the first issue that I have where nothing is planned. Like for all the past issues, besides number five, I've always had something in the back of my head or in the back of my mind that I would like to like address or I'd like to speak about and explore whilst I sit down and think and you know what I mean, like just chat and all that sort of stuff. But this is the first one where it's just completely off the top of the dome. There's nothing really in specific that like I had that I wanted to bring and pick apart and like just explore. So to to episodes on the whim. So I got it on the shin, you get me? Right. So where do I begin? Um I don't know, man. It's been an interesting journey. It's had its ups and downs so far. What's I don't know, just sitting down and thinking about things. What's something that I'd like to think about, or like something that I'd like to speak about, or something that I'd like to I don't know explore a little. And I guess I do have one. So to say that I have nothing whilst I sit down here and just think about something is, I'd say it would be a complete lie. But um, there is something that I found quite interesting that I was listening to not too long ago. Um, and it was from a YouTuber. I think some people might be familiar with him, some might not. It's quite interesting though. He's called Far and Fearless or Fearless and Far. It's people inside dancing and doing crazy stuff. Um, yeah, it was interesting, man. This guy just kind of goes around and just adventures everywhere on Earth, like visits bare tribes and stuff, which I find quite fascinating, quite interesting. It's something that I'd love to do at some point in my life and learn from, like, people that live so in tune with nature and just so at one with nature and all its things and all that stuff. And he has a particular video where he sits down and he chats to one of the elders, and this elder's 79. You look at him, doesn't look a day older than 50. He looks full of life, skin looks great, teeth are great, he's in good shape, you know what I mean, very wise and stuff. And he asks him, like, yo, like how is it that you stay so young, full of life? Like, what's the secret? What's, you know what I mean? Like, what's the keys to your success type thing? And the elder just kind of turns around and just says to him, like, look, like, I just live by nature, you know what I mean? Like whatever nature gives me, that's what I eat. I don't do no chemical stuff. I don't do no processed stuff. I don't do no like I don't know, nothing that's not organic basically. He eats a lot of organic stuff, you know what I mean? Like fruit, veg, herbs, animals. It could be like meat, chicken, beef, pork, whatever it might be, I don't know. But the argument is that he just everything is organic. All his medicine is organic, just herbs, natural remedies that, help the body and all that sort of stuff. And nothing is like chemicals or nothing is chemically produced or processed. If that makes sense. And this is something that I think about constantly. You know what I mean? Like how out of tune are we really? Those that live in big cities or just cities in general, where there's not much nature around. Sorry, where there's not much nature around, and like there isn't that accessibility to nature and its abundance and everything that's organic about it. Do you know what I mean? Because for example, here in London, like you live in a city like this where pretty much everywhere you look is just tall buildings or just buildings in general, and it's just like minimal nature. Parks are man-made, but they offer nothing other than trees and grass and maybe a few bushes and nice little flowers. Um, and yeah, man, for you to go to the next or the nearest farm where they actually produce stuff, or like if you go to for you to get to the nearest forest, for example, wherever it might be, you gotta go far. You know what I mean? You gotta leave London. You gotta maybe go to the outskirts of London, and London's not a small city. So everything that means, then everything you buy and everything you purchase, if you're, I guess, not fortunate enough to have a good budget to buy from shops that sell organic food, the best bet is going somewhere like Tesco, Asda's, Lidl, Aldi, whatever it might be. Yeah, pick your poisons. And bro, the majority of the food there is processed. They've got like preservatives in them. They've got all this jazz going on in them, innit? And you don't learn how to cultivate food. You don't learn how to like grow your own stuff. You don't learn how to like, I don't know, like simple things, farm an animal. You know what I mean? Like you don't ever learn how to what, like I don't know, take care of a chicken so that it can lay you some eggs for you to eat in the morning type thing. You know what I mean? And like little things like this, they just kind of start tuning you out of nature a little bit. And then on top of that, not being around nature, not having greenery and forests, like natural forests in abundance, not having like, I don't know, farmland, greenland, like hills and mountains and blah 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 around you, like that kind of takes you out of tune a little bit more with nature. And one of the guy's arguments, one of the elders' arguments in this video was that like being away from all of this takes you out of tune or makes you out of tune with nature, keeps you out of tune with nature. And that's what a lot of people's unhappiness comes from. And that's why they don't feel that good. That's why they don't feel, you know what I mean? Like they don't feel 100%. They don't feel, I don't know, as well as they can do. Do you know what I mean? And it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because I think I kind of agree. Like through my experience of traveling and being on islands and in jungles and climbing, don't know, like small little peaks that you can climb for like viewpoints and stuff. Like you're really in this, you know what I mean? Like you're really in nature, you're really in the jungle, you're really in things that just occur naturally for you to kind of just explore and go around. And bro, you feel so alive, man. You feel good. Like the air you breathe is nice. It's good quality air. Like the food that you eat is organic. Like, everything just feels so good. So you feel so much more better about yourself. Of course, like you have to take into account the fact that you are traveling, you are on holiday, you're not worried about work, you're not worried about X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. So there's less stresses and less factors that can add to your stresses and add to your whatever it might be. So yeah, it's not a great representative of what I'm trying to say, but at least I can say that the experience of being in nature was so much more better than being here. And I can tell you for free, every time I leave London, go to the countryside or I don't know, go somewhere else that's more closer to nature, I feel better. And coming back into the city, I'm just like, bro, the city is nothing but just like a glorified prison complex, man. People fight so hard to get into the nicest block to live in, and really and truly, you're just fighting over a glorified prison cell, fam. It's a box. You know what I mean? You're just reduced to a box, and how fancy can your box get? I don't know, man. And this is what everyone's kind of fighting for in London and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know, man. There's just something that doesn't sit right with me about that, bro. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather be out of the way now. I'd rather be somewhere where there's forests, where there's nature, where there's space, you know what I mean? Where there's space where I can just kind of be free. Like I don't have to worry about too many things that go on in the city. And I'd rather be somewhere where I have my peace and my quiet. But you know what I mean? I can always see some people too, and I have friends and blah blah blah. And I don't know, man. I find so much more peace and tranquility out there now, and I don't like the idea of what cities have to offer and how they make you feel as though that's what you need. When really and truly, it's not really what you need, innit? Um, yeah, and maybe exploring that idea a little bit further. Like, what are the things that cities offer that make you feel as though it's what you need? So I spoke about the apartments, for example, like just reduced to a tin box, a glorified tin box, a glorified prison cell, which is, it's like, yo, I'm building these new fucking apartment builds or whatever it is, and this is what you need. You know what I mean? Like, these are the next best things. Like, you should be working hard towards getting this. But how do you attain it? Money. And then so another thing that big city offers is opportunities, money, is wealth, is finance. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, especially today's day and age, have missed the target here a little bit with this one. And it's putting money above everything, putting money above all else. Do you know what I mean? And even to a point, putting money above like God and above themselves and above like literally everything that goes on around them. And I think you see that a lot in society, in cities, in big cities as well, especially. Because I went down that rabbit hole at one point. I was also made to go down that rabbit hole at one point too. I was made to feel as though that was a particular necessity. And although money is a very good tool, money can not buy you happiness, but it can buy you a degree of freedom, yeah? It can allow you, facilitate you to do things that you would like to do. Yes, it's a tool, but it's not everything. Do you know what I mean? You can't fixate your whole life around money. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's a good place to go down, man. I really don't think it is a good place to go down. But that's another thing that big cities offer you. And if you now leave a big city, you're in the countryside, and all you've ever known is chasing money, how then are you gonna survive? Because the world is not one massive city. There's cities comprise maybe a small space of what the entire world actually is. So if you're only adapted to survive in this one little place, which to be fair, you probably won't ever leave anyway, how then can you survive in the rest of the world? So I feel like that's why everyone misses the target so much when they live in big cities. They're so fixated and so driven upon that desire to earn money, to earn wealth, to earn finance, which is what this model of living feeds you, what it tells you to do, what it tells you need to be like, I don't know, attaining, if that makes sense. And a lot of people lose themselves in that process, man. I almost did. Tell you that for free. I know a lot of people that do. A lot of people lose their own integrity, their own values, their own, I don't know, virtues, just for the sake of earning money. Is it really that worth kind of like diminishing your own personal self for something like that? Don't think so, man. But anyways, that's another thing that big cities offer you, innit? What else do big cities offer you? Let's see. Status, class, position. What do I mean by that? I don't know. If you live in a big city, you know, you want to be living in nice places. What does that represent? Represents status, represents wealth, represents class. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people really try to kill themselves for that. So if it's not money that they're trying to earn, they're trying to earn status, they're trying to earn class. Could even be clout. Could even be, I don't know, like, whatever it might be, you know what I mean? And again, like, is that really reaching for the right things? One thing that I found crazy interesting about that is something that Jordan Peterson spoke about in one of his biblical series. I think it was a biblical series, but he speaks about it anyway. Doesn't matter. He speaks about it anyway. And it's the idea that once you, how can I explain it? Once you kind of understand these things and how the world is set up, how societies are set up, how cities are set up, how governments run, and the purpose of governments and how they control you and all that sort of stuff. Once you understand how hierarchies are built too, in terms of social status, in terms of dominance hierarchies, for example, and all that sort of jazz. And once you place upon yourself the right sort of values, morals, and you adhere to them and you're righteous by them, you begin to like separate yourself from all of that. And not to say you stand better than it, but these things don't bother you no more and they're not your focuses no more. And like, you seeking beyond what's just this, like the superficial and the materialistic, which could be money, status, wealth, power, whatever it might be. You seeking more than that because you know that this is just nothing compared to what else is out there. Takes you out of that. Makes you a more well-rounded person, makes you a more, I guess, like wiser person. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say smarter or better person, just a wiser person. You can understand situations so much more better. You can understand just life in general so much more better. And you can grasp and see things that maybe the average person can't. What you say, my broski? You good? Yeah, good, man. Yeah, they're all good, bro. And kind of just sets you apart, you know what I mean? And maybe that's where people should be focusing, man. And that's where people should really be looking. That's where people really should be searching. And that's what people should be looking to find, you know what I mean? Not money, not wealth, not status, not the next biggest thing and best thing that like cities offer you and all that sort of stuff. And again, going back to the elder in that tribe, these are things that he speaks about, you know what I mean? And bro, he doesn't live in a city, but he knows these things. He says that, bro, cities are, He doesn't like cities. They make you too dependent on what's inside the city to the point where you can't even think for yourself. You can't depend on yourself. You can't and don't cultivate skills that allow you to survive. You know what I mean? By yourself. They don't allow you to see the bigger picture. And that's how they control you. That's how they manipulate you. That's how they get you to do what they want you to do. That's how they run their agenda. You know what I mean? That's if you believe in stuff like that. Do I? That's a good question. Do I? To an extent, bro. To an extent. Tea's getting a bit cold, you get me? Can't let it go to waste. Do I? To an extent, man. And I'll tell you why. I think here's my particular view, and again, this is just one man's opinion, one man's view, and I'm not a politician. I am not, somebody that knows how to run a country. I don't know much about governments, so to speak, like in detail how other people do and all that sort of jazz. But from what I see on the surface and the things I ask about and the things that I prod about and inquire about, here's how I see it and why I believe in it, innit? The people who are in positions of power, government politicians, the economic powers at play, people that obviously run the big companies and blah, blah, blah. Y'all know who I'm referring to. I ask myself, why are they in the position that they are in? I think at first it starts off with a small dream. It's like, I really want to be, I don't know, the next prime minister. I really want to be a politician that make a difference. Or I really want to start a company that's going to benefit people. And I think that's good. You know what I mean? I think that's very good. But the more you start climbing that ladder, I think the more and more you start to see things and realize how, like, you start to see maybe how not so pretty it is at the top with the people that are there now. And the reason why I say that is because once you get to a certain point of money or power or influence or wealth, there's a lot of people that get a taste for how much they can influence or manipulate something for their own personal advantage. And I think once you get a taste for that and you don't control that, that's when it all starts kind of going a bit downhill. And why do I say that? Well, the reason why you started out in the first place was because you wanted to make a difference for other people. When you got to a position where now you can make certain choices that influence the greater outcome and it can benefit you, you can get greedy, you can become a little corrupted, you can maybe start looking at fulfilling your own selfish desires in a very hedonic way, which is quite dangerous. And so the real ones, the ones that get to that point and they still want to make a difference for the people, they either get to a certain place and it's like, you know what, I kind of don't like it here, it's not really for me, and they drop out, or they want to continue pushing up because they see how like bad and corrupt it is, but the ones at the top are the ones that are obviously bad and corrupt, so they just kind of push them out. You know what I'm saying? And you see this a lot. You see this a lot, man. You see this everywhere. And it's very easy to turn a blind eye to it, but trust me, you see this a lot. If you really open your eyes and, you know what I'm saying, you see this a lot. So let me continue to answer my point then, as to why, don't really agree with politics and power and wealth and money and greed and so let's just say you break through and you get to that point now where you sit at the top with all the big politicians. Yeah, you sit at the top with all the biggest economic powers. You sit at the top with whoever's at the top, bruv. Yeah. So 9 out of 10 times you're probably selfish at some capacity. You probably do things and manipulate things for your own benefit, for your own fulfillment of desires or whatever it might be. So, in doing so, in manipulating situations, in playing chess here and there just for your own benefits and stuff, it affects others and it comes at the cost of others. You know what I mean? It comes at the cost of others. And so And so, how can I articulate this, and how can I bring this back to the point that I was trying to make? And so, what you tend to see then are people making decisions now at the top, like I said, making decisions to manipulate the environment around them to benefit themselves. And within that manipulation of the environment around them comes pushing their own agendas, comes having control, because that's what manipulation is. You have to have control in order to manipulate. Comes corruption to a degree, comes whatever. So in order for you to have control, in order for you to manipulate, you have to have some sort of advantage over what you're trying to control. Because if not, you can't control it. It's gonna push back. It's gonna fight back. It's not gonna let you control it. So then, in order for you to have that advantage over what you're trying to control, manipulate, which if you're a politician or a leader of a country that wants to push a certain agenda to benefit yourself, would be how do I control the masses? Well, then you start pushing out other little things that put you in positions of power to now make you slightly above the others that you're trying to control, so you can control them and you can manipulate situations. And this is why then I kind of agree with the tribesman, the elder, who says they control you, they manipulate you to an extent, they make you dumb, not make you dumb, they they make you more dependent on the system and the things around you in order for you to survive, so that you're not dependent on yourself and you can thrive by yourself, or in a separate community or wherever you choose to go. So this is why, like, I don't really agree with politics, and this is why I don't really agree with governments, and this is why I don't really agree with positions of power, chasing again social status, chasing power, chasing wealth, chasing, don't know, man, whatever it might be, because that's what comes with it. That's what comes with it. So yeah, man, it was kind of like a weird sideways projection on that point and argument, but I guess you get what I'm trying to say in it. They control you because the people at the top only want to do things that benefit themselves, and they masquerade it in policies that are like, yo, I'm doing this because it's going to benefit you, but really and truly it don't. It only benefits them, and it comes at your detriment and it comes at your cost. And I don't know, man, I don't think that, like, us as humans, we were put on the planet to do that, because that politician who's doing that nowadays probably didn't start off in that manner. He probably started off thinking, I can really make a difference for the people in my country and my country. I can really lead this place and, like, be a good leader and a good figure for people to, like, I don't know, follow, or just like having a position of governance, so that I can, so I can keep things in regulation and in check. But they just get corrupted along the way, man. And I feel like that's what money, power, and status does to a certain degree to a lot of people. Anyway, some people maybe not, but to a lot of people. And I think that's what happens when you put those things at the top, primary in your list, as number one thing that you chase, or whatever it might be in it. So yeah, man, if I could, I would. I'd leave the city, go live in a tribe somewhere else. No, I'm joking. But no, in all honesty though, I would at some point love to leave the city, just kind of live by the fatter of the land. Do you know what I mean? Be a bit more independent, just have my own space and freedom, and be away from all the ruckus. You know what I mean? Be away from all this madness, bro. That's what I think, anyway, man. But yeah, it was interesting. I can't lie, that video was interesting, really thought provoking, and I think a lot of people should go watch it. You know what I mean? Some of the things that they speak about on surface level was interesting, but when you really think deep about what my man is saying, like, it's just like, yo, he's got such a valid point, man. Such a good point, such a valid point. And this is something that I've been feeling to myself recently, like, although I live in a city, like, how bad would it be to just have a little garden where you can grow your own veg, grow your own fruit, grow your own herbs, go learn how to take care of it and you know what I mean? That would be sick, bro. That would be so sick. So why not? Why not? Why not do that yourselves? You know what I mean? Why not do that yourselves? Yeah, man. Or something else that's kind of been floating around there in my mind, in my head. Alright, here's another idea that I've been playing with, and this one here is quite interesting. Um, it's just kind of like a big what if, because us as humans and the idea of God, it's made very clear that like we just don't have the capacity to even fathom like what God is, like the amount of power, wisdom, and knowledge He possesses, and like how a being could create something so complex and intertwined and functional as like a planet. You know what I mean? And the things and the people that inhabit that planet. So just a thought that keeps reoccurring in my head is that each individual human plays a bigger part, sorry, plays a small intricate piece in a puzzle that forms a bigger part of what this actually is. How can I describe it? Right, well, here's how I describe it to myself, and I hope I can make sense of it to you guys at home. So picture yourself, me, Juancho, as planet Earth. Yeah. So my lungs would represent the trees because that's how I breathe. The water might represent my blood because that's what flows around me. I guess the core would represent the heart, it's your nucleus, core of your body, it's the heart, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say, yeah? So what do animals and humans represent? And I was asking myself, like, why is it that only us humans have the ability of, or have been given the ability to be conscious, to think, like to understand thought and understand everything that we do to a particular degree? Why? Yet there's other animals around that don't have that. Yeah, there might be some animals that are like conscious of themselves, but they don't have the same level of consciousness that we do. Why is that? Right. So then I thought to myself, what do humans represent on Earth? And what do animals represent on Earth? And I liken it to be something along the lines of your neurons in your brain, I think is what I want to liken it to. And why do I want to liken it to that? Or parts of the brain, maybe, or like maybe just the neurons, the ones that transmit, the transmitters, the ones that transmit the different like messages down to your body. That, one part of my brain is like, think to put your arm up, put your arm up. Think to put your leg up, put your leg up. You know what I mean? Like the conscious thoughts. And then you also have parts of the brain that like tell your heart to just consistently beat every day, every day, every day, every day. Like, you know what I mean? Minute by minute by minute. But you don't have to tell your brain to tell your heart to do that, do you? No. So here's what I liken the animals and us humans to be like then. So the animals would be the neurons in your brain that you don't control, but just know what they're doing, right? Because an animal knows what it's doing. A cheetah knows to be a cheetah. An elephant knows to be an elephant. A bird knows to be a bird. Do you know what I mean? But they don't have consciousness like we do. So those are like the neurons that fire in your brain that, they tell your heart to pump blood around you every minute of the day. They tell your eyes to process the light that goes through them, but you don't have to do that. They tell your, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? The bodily functions, they tell your liver to like fix some shit. They tell your stomach to digest your food and all that sort of jazz. But then humans, on the other hand, form the conscious part of that cycle, of those neurons, of those things that go on, that fire off in your brain. And what does that look like? Well, that could be the part of your brain that tells you to move your legs to go to the toilet. That could be the part of your brain that tells you to pick up your pen and paper and write something down that you need to write down. Could be the part of your brain that tells you, right, I need to go to the kitchen and make some food because I gotta eat. You know what I mean? And like, it's the conscious thoughts, the conscious processes as you made that go on in your brain. And so, if the world, the earth, operates on a similar kind of plane as the human body, then then surely you would want those neurons or those whatever that communicate with each other to communicate with each other well. You want them to transmit the right messages. You want them to make sure that they are working well together so you get the right outcome. See what I'm saying? So then, by that argument, which is also the argument you find in the Bible, which is also the argument you might find in other religions, it's your due responsibility then to do right by your neighbors, to do good things to the people that are around you. And why? Because you want to carry the right messages, you want to transmit the right messages, you want your part of you want your function to function correctly, to function properly. Do you know what I'm saying? Because then if it don't, just like the same way, if part of your brain don't function properly, you gotta take it to the hospital. They gotta operate on your brain, flush out a few things. They gotta, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't want that happening to you, bro. You wouldn't want God coming down here, tearing apart certain things and flushing out, you know what I mean, people that ain't doing the job correctly and rare tear. So this is an idea that I've been toying with, innit? So then you can even go down a step as well as up a step. So if that's how the world works, that's how we work. How do cells work? Well, then cells are like individual cells are still alive, no? So you got the nucleus, that could be the heart or whatever, the brain or whatever, the mitochondria, that's the lungs of the cell. You've got the membrane, which is like your skin. You've got like, I don't know, a whole bunch of things in a cell that can represent everything that we go through, innit? So you got things in a cell that can represent parts of a human body too, you know what I mean? And bro, I was thinking to myself, why then is the universe a vacuum? Why is it a dark place? And why is it forever expanding? And how do you think a cell feels in your body? Do you reckon a cell can look outside of itself or look outside of where it's in, whether it's your muscle, whatever, and once it breaks the surface, look out and see the sky and the sun and all that sort of stuff? It probably just sees darkness. This is what I picture in my head if I was a cell. This sounds crazy, by the way. I know this sounds mental, innit? But hear me out. It's like probably just sees darkness. Probably to them, the space outside of it is just like an expansive space, and you probably don't even know where it ends because the cell is so small, and you've got the whole of this body that is, you know what I mean, to explore. And how can it? So what if the world in itself is an organism, but what if the world formed like just a cell in a bigger organism, bro? And when you look outside of this of the world's surface, you just see blackness and darkness, and it's forever expanding because the being that we form a part of is always growing, just how we are. So the same way to this cell in our body probably thinks, right, the universe outside of me is just always expanding, you know, it's always getting bigger. It's because we're always growing. So what if the same concept applied to the world, what the world forms part of? Because think about it, you have the world, it goes around the sun, and then that's like your solar system. Then in your solar system, you got the galaxy, which is like multiple different suns, different planets that spin around them. Outside your galaxy, you got like fucking the Milky Way or whatever it is that we're all. I don't know how. I don't know. I'm not an astrologist or astrophysicist or whatever it is, but you get my point. It's just clusters, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. To the point where when you think about it, so many different stars. Like, what if that just formed part of a bigger body, fam? But like this bigger body's so big we can't fathom it, we can't understand it, we just won't ever get it. And maybe that's what God represents, maybe that's what he's supposed to be. And it's interesting because you listen to accounts of people that take, for example, ayahuasca, DMT, mushrooms, wherever it might be. And that guy, by the way, did a ayahuasca retreat, and he talks about it. And he says that he encountered this being, and this being showed him, like, you are nothing, you're a speck, you're a dust in what like all of this actually is. And it made him feel so small, but it made him feel as though, brother, I want to give my life to this. Like this being that I encountered, this God that I've encountered, I feel like I want to give my life to this. I want to make sure that the part that I play is doing the correct thing, so that, like, you know, shit can function properly. So I don't have these thoughts for no reason, innit? Like, all these things are so cohesive, and I always get like little telltale signs that, like, bruv, like, it's something, you know what I mean? It's an idea that maybe has something behind it. I don't know. But that's just the way I kind of see things. Like, we are an individual. There's things within our body that have to work cohesively in order for us to function. And the world, you can picture it, the earth, you can picture it as an individual. There's things within the earth, for example, the trees, the humans, the water, the mountains, the landscapes, like everything that has to function cohesively in order for it to function. And I'm pretty sure the earth forms part of a bigger picture that the earth also has to function correctly with the other things around them for it to function properly and be cohesive with everything around it. Think about it. The moon is at the perfect distance. The earth is at the perfect distance from the sun. If anything was to like kind of come out of shape and like come out of balance, bro, we're all screwed, man. Nothing's gonna work properly. So yeah, man. And then if you go back a step instead, so us as a human, like we have things inside us that got to function properly so that we can function properly. But then if you go into the human, you have the heart, and there's things inside the heart that have to function properly for the heart to function properly. Then you go in even more, you got the cell, then you got things inside the cell that have to function properly in order for the cell to function properly. Like, what if that's what all of this just is? Just expanding bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why we don't understand the immense power of what we form part of how we form part of the bigger picture. That's why we don't understand the bigger picture. That's why we never will understand the bigger picture, because a cell will never understand the human in its complete form. So how can we understand God in its complete form? We just never will. I don't know. Yeah, that's such a strange tangent, and I don't know. This thought comes to me all the time, like all the time. It comes to me all the time, and that's why, yeah. So my cousin that I spoke to on the last issue, he has this philosophy of life that we're just here to experience. We're here to like live life. We're here to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, like everything. You know what I mean? And like everyone already has a pre-written destination. That's why Hitler came and killed 3 million Jews. That's why there were 3 million Jews that gave themselves up to die, because they, before they came to the planet, they signed off with a man upstairs and said, "That's what I want to go to Earth to experience." And like, to an extent, I agree. But then, why then would God need to send His Son in order to show us how to do things properly, though? Do you know what I mean? So he says that Hitler probably never felt a due responsibility to do right by those 3 million Jews. But maybe he thought that killing those 3 million Jews was doing right by the bigger picture. But then I think to myself, bruv, there's just set rules, fam. There's rules that you have to abide by, like that. You got to play the game by the rules, bro. And that means to not harm other people. So you killing 3 million like Jews, for example, for the sake of you thinking you're gonna clean out a race and, like, I don't know, make your country a better country, and because you think Jews are, like, I don't know, like just a despicable race or minority or whatever, you're not playing the game by the rules. You're inflicting harm willingly. You know that what you're doing is wrong, but you're doing it anyway. So I think to an extent it's true. Like, you maybe sign up with a man upstairs and say, "Yo, I want to go down and I want to experience what it's like to be a leader of a country." But then when you come down and you experience being a leader of a country, it's the devil who kind of like infiltrates your thoughts and makes you corrupt to the point where you kill 3 million Jews. So yes, I do think, based upon that massive rant that I just went on about like organisms and how they work and what we're supposed to be here for and how we're supposed to function, I do think then we have to play the game by the rules. And part of playing the game by the rules is that you have a set responsibility to be the best individual you can and do good to those that are around you, no matter what. Because if not, you're not transmitting the right messages, your neurons ain't firing correctly, your neurotransmitters, or I forget what the cells are called, your nerve cells, whatever it is, man, they're just not receiving the right messages, and the bodily functions don't work properly no more, man. And that's why you send in paracetamol to fix your headache. That's why you send in, I don't know, aspirin to fix whatever. That's why you send in a cold and flu tablet to flush your whole system out. Think about it, man. Maybe that's why there's so many things happening in the world, bro. Maybe that's what it is. It's just flushing out its system to get all the bad stuff out, innit? Maybe that's why God sometimes every now and again sends His Son. It's like, yo, here you go. I bring my man to flush out the bad and show you how it's done again, so you can do it again properly, innit? Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting topic, that one, man. But it just lives in my head rent free, man. lives in my head rent free. And knowing that, so knowing that, like, you know, we're supposed to be here to help those that are around us, serve everybody else that's around us, and do good by everyone that's around us. That's why part of the reason why I don't agree with chasing money, chasing wealth, chasing status, chasing power, chasing any of these sort of things. You know what I mean? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I think you should use them and be able to use them as a tool to do good, but don't use that as like your primary focus. And that's what a false god is. You know what I mean? That's what chasing a false god is. You lose sight of the bigger picture of why you're actually here, and you're just so focused and enclosed in your own little world, and you think that own little world is just getting money, 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 money. And it's like, bro, come on, man, you're wasting a lot of things that like God gave you in order for you to do what you're actually here to do, bro. So just don't do it, innit? Find what your actual thing is. And I think the best place to start is how can I serve those around me? How can I better serve those around me? That's how you start finding your purpose. That's how I find mine anyway. So I think if it works for me, why wouldn't it work for anybody else? Yeah, man. Interesting stuff. I still think to my head every day, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I, the choices that I've made in life, or the choices that I continue to make in life, like, why am I making them? Is it really necessary? Is it going to bring me anything good? Is it in line with my beliefs? If not, why am I still doing it? You know what I mean? But hey, I think that's just the normal human nature. We'll never get it right. We will never be perfect. That's part of how it's just supposed to be. But we try our best. We do our best. You know what I mean? So it's your responsibility to do your best, just as it is mine. And I'll continue to do so. But yeah, man. I'll be honest, I think that makes a very interesting issue 6 still. Short and sweet and simple, but I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So again, issue 6 marks a nice little milestone for me. I cannot wait to just keep cracking on, editing and just giving out more, man, because I honestly enjoy this so much though. I never thought I would. I've always been like low-key kind of shook to be in front of a camera. Never been the most confident when it comes to things like that, but man, as soon as I sit down and I start rambling and chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting, I just get into my little comfort zone and dig, and it gets real interesting, real interesting. So yeah, it's nice. But guys, that's issue 6. Until we meet again.